A major development here for the Washington Commanders as San Francisco 49ers All-Pro wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, who we've talked about a ton on this show this offseason, has officially requested a trade from the 49ers after contract extension negotiations have apparently gone south. Today I'm going to be breaking down the entire situation, the possibility of the Commanders landing the All-Pro wide receiver, and why I think Washington is actually the most likely team to land the All-Pro receiver. But before we break it all down here on the Commanders Report today, make sure you click that subscribe button, because if there's a trade, we are going to be having breaking news coverage for you guys right here on the Commanders Report. Right now, we have over 17,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 20,000 before the start of the season. So do your part right now. New viewers, if you haven't clicked that subscribe button right now, I guarantee you the only thing you're going to regret if you click that subscribe button is that you didn't do it sooner. So get that going to start off today's show. Okay, so we get the report here from Mike Garafolo, who had it first. He says, source, 49ers All-Pro wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade after an offseason of unsuccessful attempts to reach an extension. Despite a recent meeting, the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May, so Aiyuk has respectfully asked out. Then Jeremy Fowler came out with a report saying, source on Brandon Aiyuk contract impasse. Aiyuk wants to be traded or paid. San Francisco doesn't want to pay him or trade him. So that's kind of a sticky situation for the San Francisco 49ers. But despite this kind of pickle that the Niners find themselves in, Adam Schefter from ESPN reports that other teams that have reached out and spoken to San Francisco have been told that the 49ers have no intention of trading disgruntled wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, who officially has requested a trade. 49ers open training camp next week. So listen, man, when it comes to the teams that could land Brandon Aiyuk in a trade, if the Niners do decide to let him go, is the Washington Commanders for a number of reasons, right? Number one, if you are the Commanders and you're looking to add a receiver, I mean, you're not going to find somebody with more chemistry than Brandon Aiyuk. These guys train together. They're best friends. They hang out together all the time. And, you know, if you're really looking to make Jaden Daniels the best quarterback he can be, why not add his best friend and former college teammate in Brandon Aiyuk? They obviously have great chemistry together. He's still only 26 years old. He was an All-Pro last year. He's had 2 years of close to or at All-Pro production, 2 straight seasons with over 1,000 yards receiving. So this is certainly somebody that the Commanders could have on their radar. And if you remember here on the Pivot podcast back in June, Aiyuk said this about where he's going to be playing in 2024. If not a Niners uniform, probably a Washington Commanders uniform. So this is where Brandon Aiyuk would expect to be traded if the Niners end up deciding to let him go. And if you'll remember here, Brandon had a fantastic season in 2023, over 1,300 yards. He was a second-team All-Pro, 7 touchdowns, and that massive 17.9 yards per reception makes him one of the most efficient wide receivers in the game today. Here's his production over the last 4 years, 2 straight years with over 1,000 yards receiving, 2 straight years with at least 75 receptions. And if he gets brought in here, man, I think that he's going to probably be 100 reception kind of guy, probably gets close to 1,500 yards. He would be arguably the number 1 receiver here in Washington, even with Terry McLaurin on the roster, just because of how much chemistry Aiyuk already has established with new quarterback here in Washington, Jaden Daniels. So let me know down there in the comments section, should the Commanders trade for Brandon Aiyuk? Type T if you would trade for him, or type P if you would pass on Brandon Aiyuk. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So here in just a second, I'm going to be telling you about our sponsor today, Fanatics. When I'm talking about Fanatics, I'm telling you about the great deal that they have for you guys today. Make sure you go find that pinned comment, top of the comment section, and answer today's question. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics, because no matter who Jaden Daniels is going to be throwing the ball to this year, you can still rock that number 5 Jaden Daniels jersey on Commanders game days this year. Go to chatsports.com/Daniels to get a great price and a great deal from our friends at Fanatics on a brand new Jaden Daniels jersey, number 5. So if you want to get that in your closet today, and by the way, Fanatics sends us part of the proceeds when you use our link. So go to chatsports.com/Daniels if you want a new Jaden Daniels jersey and you want to help out the channel. So here's what the Commanders wide receiver depth chart looks like currently. I think that the wide receiver room is already pretty good, all right? And I understand the people that say, oh, we don't want to trade for Aiyuk because he's too expensive. The wide receiver position isn't a need, but it would certainly be an upgrade, right? And I think that this is certainly something that the Commanders can, look at. And even Adam Schefter reported earlier this offseason, the Commanders did engage in trade talks for Brandon Aiyuk. So it's not like Adam Peters isn't interested in potentially making this upgrade to the Commanders' wide receiver room. But the big question here is, what could a Brandon Aiyuk trade look like? Because you also have to keep in the back of your mind here that when a trade goes through, the Commanders are going to have to pay Brandon Aiyuk a contract worth up to $30 million per season. That is the price that Aiyuk has set for himself after Amon-Ra St. Brown made that same exact figure. That's what Aiyuk wants. So if you trade for him, that's what you're going to have to pay him. And for a rebuilding team like the Commanders, maybe that's something that some fans aren't too comfortable with. But man, you look at what I would offer right now. This is the offer that I would start at if I were GM Adam Peters. And I think this is something that could potentially get the job done. Okay, because I'm not sure if any team is going to be willing to pay a first-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk. Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe the New England Patriots. Kind of doubt the Patriots. Maybe the Steelers do it. But what I would offer is a second-round pick next year, which could be a pretty high draft pick, depending on how the Commanders do this year. And then you swap Brandon Aiyuk for Jahan Dotson. And the reason why the Niners might like that is because, you still get a first-round quality receiver in Jahan Dotson, who still has a very bright future, to replace Brandon in that offense, right? And you have, of course, Ricky Pearsall, and you let those guys battle it out to replace Aiyuk's spot on the Niner offense this year. So let me know down there in the comments section, do you think that, or would you accept this trade if you were GM Adam Peters and the Niners offered this to you? Type A for accept or type D for decline. I think this is a pretty fair deal on both sides. And honestly, I think that if the Commanders end up landing Aiyuk, this could be a framework that could be pretty darn realistic. Now, other destinations that could be very interested in Brandon Aiyuk, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are still in major need of a number 2 wide receiver. They've been looking to trade for Aiyuk all offseason. So if he is made available, expect the Steelers to be kind of going all in for Aiyuk here. And then the New England Patriots, who are in the middle of a rebuild right now, they just drafted Drake May, but they could certainly add a nice receiver like Aiyuk to the fold as well. You look at the betting odds right now, those are the top 3 teams. The Commanders and Steelers are both tied at plus 1250. And then the Patriots and Broncos are actually tied at plus 3,000. And then the Bills and Chargers are at plus 4,000 to round out the rest of the rankings. Those are the top 6 in terms of trading for Brandon Aiyuk. But before we kind of wrap things up here, guys, I want to talk a little bit about how the Niners are comfortable in this situation, right? Deebo Samuel, a couple seasons back, had requested a trade from the 49ers, if you will remember, and they ended up getting that contract done on July 31st. So we're not even at that point so far, right? We're on July 16th as of today. Right, so I mean, there's still some time here for the Niners and Aiyuk to figure something out. It's possible that Aiyuk came out with this trade request to try to get a little bit more leverage in contract negotiations. And this is a 49ers team that is very, very comfortable waiting till late in the offseason to get a deal done. All right, that's going to be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your support. I will say, I think the Commanders are probably the most likely team in the National Football League to land Brandon Aiyuk. They have the connection at GM with Adam Peters, who is the former assistant there in San Francisco. They have a good receiver in Jahan Dotson they can offer in exchange. They have a pretty darn good draft capital that they can offer as well. They've got all the resources to make this happen. They have the cap space to give Aiyuk a new deal. It just makes sense that the Washington Commanders could land Brandon Aiyuk in the coming days. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now, because if Adam Peters locks up Brandon Aiyuk, we're going to be giving you guys breaking news coverage, and you're not going to want to miss it.